In the shadows of ancient Israel, when chaos ruled and desperation drove men to make impossible choices, one warrior's promise would echo through eternity. This is not just another Bible story. This is the tale of a vow so terrible, so binding, that it would destroy the very thing a father loved most. Jephthah's vow. Meet Jephthah, cast out by his own family, rejected by society, a man forged in the crucible of betrayal and abandonment. Yet when Israel's survival hung by a thread, they came crawling back to the very outcast they had once scorned. But victory would come at a price so devastating that it would haunt generations. Because sometimes the cost of winning is losing everything that matters. Thank you for staying tuned to this channel. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Also, click on the bell icon for notifications. Picture this. Ancient Israel, around 1100 BCE. The land is fractured, chaotic. No king rules. Every man does what is right in his own eyes. And rising from the shadows of Gilead comes a man with nothing left to lose. Jephthah, son of a harlot, they called him. His own brothers drove him from his father's house, denying him his inheritance. Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor. He was the son of a prostitute. Gilead became the father of Jephthah. Gilead's wife bore him sons. When his wife's son grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You will not inherit in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." Judges chapter 11 verses 1 and 2. Exiled to the land of Tob, Jephthah gathered around him men who, like himself, lived on the margins. Outlaws, rogues, the desperate and dispossessed. He became their leader, their champion. A warrior forged not in privilege but in pain. But fate has a way of making outcasts into saviors. After a while, the children of Ammon made war against Israel. When the children of Ammon made war against Israel, they said to Jephthah, "Come and be our chief, that we may fight with the children of Ammon." Judges chapter 11, verses 4, 5, and 6. When the Ammonites rose like a storm against Israel, when their armies threatened to consume everything, suddenly the very brothers who had rejected Jephthah came begging. Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Didn't you hate me and drive me out of my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you are in distress?" Judges chapter 11 verse 7. Let this Bible verse be a tool against your enemies and a reminder to you, my dear esteemed listener, that whatever situation that has put you in an uncomfortable circumstances, where people belittle you, hate you, stab you behind your back, that one day the same people will come begging you. The irony was bitter as wormwood. The son they had cast out was now their only hope. The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "Therefore we have turned again to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the children of Ammon. You will be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." Judges chapter 11 verse 8. Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and chief over them. Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. Judges chapter 11 verse 11. Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the children of Ammon, saying, "What do you have to do with me, that you have come to me to fight against my land?" Judges chapter 11 verse 12. The king of the children of Ammon answered the messengers of Jephthah and said, "Israel took my land when he came up out of Egypt, from the Arnon even to the Jabbok and to the Jordan. Now therefore restore that territory again peaceably." Judges chapter 11 verse 13. Jephthah sent messengers again to the king of the children of Ammon. And he said to him, "Jephthah says, Israel didn't take away the land of Moab nor the land of Ammon." Judges chapter 11 verses 14 and 15. However, the king of the children of Ammon didn't listen to the words of Jephthah which he sent him. Then the Lord's Spirit came on Jephthah, and he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed over to the children of Ammon. But as he stood on the threshold of battle, facing an enemy that outnumbered his forces, something within him snapped. Perhaps it was desperation, perhaps it was a lifetime of abandonment, or perhaps it was something darker. In that moment of crushing uncertainty, Jephthah made a vow to the Almighty that would echo through eternity. Jephthah vowed a vow to the Lord and said,
If you will indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, it shall be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. Judges chapter 11 verses 30 and 31.
Did you catch that? Whatever comes out, not some animal from his livestock. The Hebrew is ambiguous, terrifying in its implications. Jephthah had just wagered with God using a currency he didn't even know he possessed. So Jephthah passed over to the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hand. He struck them from Aroer until you come to Minnith, even 20 cities, and to Abel-Keramim with a great slaughter. So the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. Judges chapter 11 verses 32 and 33. The battle was swift, decisive. 20 cities fell before Jephthah's fury. The Ammonites were utterly crushed. Israel was saved. But victory cries would soon turn to ashes in his mouth. Picture Jephthah returning home, dust of victory still on his armor, the taste of triumph still sweet on his lips. His house appears in the distance, the same house from which he had once been cast out, now his, by right of conquest and leadership. But what's that sound? Music, dancing. Jephthah came to Mizpah to his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with tambourines and with dances. She was his only child. Besides her, he had neither son nor daughter. Judges chapter 11, verse 34. Imagine that moment. The collision between triumph and tragedy. The instant when victory transformed into the most hollow defeat imaginable. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low, and you are one of those who trouble me, for I have opened my mouth to the Lord, and I can't go back. Judges chapter 11, verse 35. But here's what makes this story even more haunting. Listen to her response. This unnamed daughter, whose fate would become legend, she said to him, My father, you have opened your mouth to the Lord. Do to me according to that which has proceeded out of your mouth, because the Lord has taken vengeance for you on your enemies, even on the children of Ammon. Judges chapter 11, verse 36. She asked for only one thing, 2 months to go into the mountains with her companions to weep for her virginity, for the life she would never live, the children she would never bear, the future that was sacrificed on the altar of her father's desperate vow. At the end of 2 months, she returned to her father, who did with her according to his vow, which he had vowed. She was a virgin. It became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to celebrate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. Judges chapter 11, verses 39 and 40. Think about that. For generations, the women of Israel would gather annually to weep for this unnamed girl, not to celebrate her father's victory over the Ammonites, not to honor his military prowess, but to weep for the daughter whose life was forfeit to her father's rash words. This story became Israel's annual reminder of what happens when desperation meets reckless promises. When we try to bargain with God using stakes we cannot afford to lose. Jephthah had gained everything: military victory, political power, the respect of those who had once rejected him. But in gaining everything, he lost the one thing that mattered most. Why does this story of a rash vow made in desperation still echo through the centuries? Because it reveals something terrifying about the human heart. When we're desperate, when we're backed into a corner, when everything we've worked for hangs in the balance. What promises might we make? What prices might we agree to pay? Jephthah's vow stands as an eternal warning. Be careful what you promise when your back is against the wall. Be careful what you're willing to sacrifice for victory, because sometimes the cost of winning is losing your soul. In the end, Jephthah got everything he thought he wanted. Victory over his enemies, recognition from his people, his place in history secured. But at what cost? What would you have done? What vows have you made in desperation? And what are you willing to sacrifice for the things you think you need? The daughter of Jephthah still wanders the hills of our imagination, a reminder that some prices are too high to pay, even for victory.